Welcome to part two of National Caregiving something or other month.
National Family Caregivers Month.
I knew it.
Yes.
And we're talking about statistics today. This is Nurse Linda, and this is Dr. Charles Campbell, the man operating the buttons in the back.
Yeah, it's really important for caregivers to understand the impact and the contribution that they make, because it is a thankless job. You raise your children's never appreciate what you do for them. That's the way it is for caregivers when they're dealing with adults, and you think it should be appreciated, and it isn't always that way. I want to read part of the proclamation from this year from President Obama for 2012 for National Family Caregivers Month. Family caregivers have an immeasurable impact on the lives of those they assist, but their hours are long and their work is hard. Many put their own lives on hold to lift up someone close to them. And I think that's very important when we're going into this next segment here. Caregiver stress and the impact it has on people, because people don't recognize it, and how it impacts the care they're going to provide for their loved one. It's emotional, physical, psychological, and financial. Because if the person they're caring for can't afford that food, it's coming out of the caregiver's pocket. That person they're caring for can't pay that light bill, it's coming out of the caregiver's pocket. And it happens more and more often, and I encourage people right from the very beginning, log your time, keep a diary. How often are you over at your neighbor's house? Have you put money out? What contributions have you made to them? How many times have you gone to the store? How many prescriptions have you picked up? Just, even if it's not going outside of your normal day-to-day activity because you're doing it because you're out anyway, keep track of it. This is a firm indication of how much help that person is really needing or is going to need in the future. And it helps the physician, it helps the family to plan what they're going to do. People in a very ubiquitous way don't really find out how much time this is taking until it's too late and until the stress bogs them down. 59% of informal caregivers are employed outside the home. And by informal caregivers, that means somebody who is not a trained doctor, nurse, aide. They're not being paid to do what they do.
Okay.
Yes.
In my case,
yes,
my wife had Parkinson's for 10 years, but only in the last 6 months, when she diagnosed with Lewy body, did it go downhill rapidly. And I was literally too close to my problem to see that I needed a caregiver.
Yes. Caregiver, yes.
Yeah. In fact, you and I talked about it until we had sent the ambulance to come and pick her and take her to the hospital. She's in extended care now and has been since May, June, something like that. And it would have been, if someone had said, well, I think you did say, Charles, you need a caregiver to come into the house at least a couple hours a day. Because it got to a point where I couldn't leave her for an hour, even 20 minutes. And
the lack of sleep you had because of her interrupted sleep schedule. And trying to maintain a normalcy in your life with work and balancing all of that. It snuck up on you. And
it was like 2 days of no sleep, the last bit. And the neurologist and her physician said, call 911. And I'm thinking, hey, you're going to college that long to learn your craft, you just say call 911. They were absolutely correct. And I put it off for 2 weeks, which wrecked me. And she needed care before that. And if I'd had a caregiver in there, caregiver would have recognized being an outside person. And if you're a caregiver, pay attention, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And utilize a service. And we're going to talk about that in the third section, how to utilize services to get that outside opinion.
I even had a $500 grant from Alzheimer's Association. And I never got a chance to use it. I would have had I recognized what was going on, but I didn't. I'm too close to it. I got 12 years of college for kind of like, you think I don't know what's going on.
No,
but you're too close.
You are too close, and the similar situation happened to me as well, providing care from a distance for a family member, and it reached the point where I had a breaking point. and there was nothing I could do about it. And after it happened, after I hit that breaking point, it was like, wow, I talk to people about this all day long. I encourage people to look for help when they need it. And it wasn't until I reached that moment where I started making phone calls and said, okay, I need somebody to do this. I need somebody to do that. Here's what's going on. So it happens to everyone. Yes, it's very hard to figure out.
It's hard to ask for help too.
It is. It is very hard. And a lot of it is lack of recognition. Or if you ask for help, it's because you failed. But we're going to talk more about that.
Okay.
13% of the informal caregivers out there are 65 years of age or older. And that's important to remember too. You have people providing care that may need care themselves. And that's the important piece of that. The number of caregivers out there is up to over 60 million, if I have my numbers correct.
60 million?
Yes.
That means there are at least 60 million people who are being taken care of.
Yes.
That's 120 million people. We
Yes.
don't have 300-some million in the country.
After people, the impact of caregiving on the workforce, and these numbers are a couple years old, but there is over $300,000 per person in lost wages.
How many?
Over $300,000 in an individual's lifetime in lost wages, Social Security benefits, and pensions, because they either have to end up working part-time, have to leave their jobs early in order to provide caregiving services. Huge impact on the individual providing the care.
It is, because I sold my practice and my columns just to take care of my wife.
Yep. Yeah. Impacts to the employer are over nationwide $327 million for partial absenteeism. People who aren't at their work. And you may be at your job, but if you're calling the doctor, if you're calling in prescriptions, if you're calling home to check on your loved one, you're not at your job. You're not doing your job. You are not a benefit to your employer when you have to do those things. It is lost work time for your employer. Very important to understand and remember as well. And it's mostly women who are providing the care. So this mostly impacts women in the workforce, although men more and more often now are being impacted as well. But changing work schedules, becoming more flexible with schedules can help employers as well as the employee. Once we talk about how to pull help in and help you plan your day better and things of that nature. So we're going to talk about that in the next segment. Any other questions you have, sir?
It's a tough job.
It is. And it's a thankless job.
Yeah, thankless indeed.
Absolutely.
Well, my wife thanked me up until the time she got Lewy body, and like, who is that guy who looks like Santa Claus? Yes. Anyway, okay. Our next segment is going to be
on resources, how to ask for help and where to get that help from.
Well, you came to the right place.
Yes.
We'll be back after this.